I built my business on drilling, filling and billing. You know, the dentistry. I did the dentistry. I did the dentistry as carefully as I could. All of the things that I'd learned in dental school I did. I used lots and lots of rubber dam. I was very, very careful with my margins. I was a great carver of anatomy. I used lots of gold work, lots of gold foil, all that sort of very high-end dentistry stuff. And my customers were often satisfied. In fact, I found that it was this sort of line that I could draw. People got a good experience or a bad experience, and I find that if I tried really hard, then often I would get this positive experience for people. Sometimes people were happy. They had a positive experience. Often they were not that happy. If I didn't try really, really hard, they had a sort of neutral experience, and if I caused some difficulty for them, if I caused them a bit more pain than usual, if it took a little bit longer than usual, if I kept them waiting, they had a negative experience. They weren't really happy. I found I had to pedal very hard to get people into this positive experience area. And there are people in this room who are still doing that same thing. They're pedaling very hard, doing the drilling, filling and billing, and finding that their patients, yeah, sometimes they're happy, but not that often, not that often. So we're here today to talk about how to change that, how to give people a great experience at the dentist, or how to give people a great experience in the business of the other people who are non-dentists. Let's look at a car mechanic. What do I mean by the core business basics? Well, I mean the quality of the work, there's quality work, timeliness, the fairness of the price. Those are the sort of basics in being a car mechanic. And if you do those things, when people collect their car and it's fixed up, they're reasonably happy. You know, that's what car mechanics do. They're supposed to fix cars, and often car mechanics don't fix them very well. So, yeah, if it is fixed, you're pretty happy. Bit the same at the dentist. Dentists are supposed to be able to fix pain. They're supposed to be able to do root canals that don't fail. They're supposed to be able to put in implants that don't fall out. So if you do it, great. You know, it's good, and you're doing the same thing that dentists do. But no great accolades for you. However, there's another area of business which I like to call personal care, which seems to make a more marked change in the way people view their experience. And I'm talking about things like politeness. I mean, when you went to this business, were they polite to you? Did they say please and thank you? And did they say sir? Did they ask you to do something pleasantly? Were they friendly? Were they sympathetic? Like, oh, it's sad that you had this problem with your car. No, it's not a good thing to happen. Rather than gloating. Are they empathetic? Well, people do. Are they empathetic? Like, yeah, my car's been went too last week on holiday, and oh, it's tough, isn't it? You've got to go all this tow trucking thing, and you've got to find another car to drive in the meantime. It's just hard work, messes your life up completely. Empathy. So if your mechanic says something like that, you're starting to feel a lot better about the experience, I think. Maybe he says, oh, look, I had a car like that. You know, it's a great car. I know you've got the problem, but you'll find after we fix this, it's going to be great. You know, I really enjoyed my car. I think you made a good choice with that car. You know, self-disclosure. That's what I am. I think they might even entertain you. There are tyre places in Australia, you probably got them here, where they have like TV and do you have those places here? Like the tyre places where they do that? You can maybe imagine a mechanic, like a regular mechanic could do that sort of thing. There probably are mechanic shops where they do that. They might even go out of their way to give you a great story to tell your friends. And the mechanic might do that, say, by having the workshop tiled in white tiles with white grout. And they keep it so clean. They steam clean your car before they take it in there. You can't take a dirty car in there. Wash the tyres, and they take it in so that it doesn't mess up their floor very clean. They put little pads underneath the wheels. And at lunchtime, they all sit down and eat off the floor. That clean. So they might do that sort of thing to give you a great story to tell. You go to your... Well, it's a hard story not to tell, don't you think? I went to this mechanic, they were broke for lunch, they fixed my car, they wash it all down, they clean the tyres, they put little pads underneath it, little pieces of carpet. I had to get special booties to go on my shoes before I was allowed to go in and visit it. And then at lunchtime, we're all waiting. I've been watching the TV, listening to the headphones, and they invited me into the workshop to have lunch with them. And we all sit down on the floor, we put our little picnic out. We ate off the floor. I mean, what a story. How could you avoid telling that story? And the answer is you couldn't. So, did it improve your experience at the mechanic's place? Have you had a good experience? Is it more interesting, exciting, more sympathetic? You've had a bond with people. You've had a good time. You've got a great story to tell. How did you fix your car? Doesn't matter. After that story, it doesn't really matter. So, you add the two things together. It does matter, actually, because it does. If you can do your core basics right, to a reasonable standard, and because I'm not advocating we go for the glitzy stuff and neglect the core. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we should look at our core. We've got to do the dentistry right. We've got to do the business right. It's only fair. But then we want people to appreciate what we give them. We want them to have a good time. So we add all this other stuff and they have a wonderful experience. If you miss out on the basics, they don't. They just feel cheated in some way. Well, they feel very cheated, actually. They feel very cheated. If you put all this glitz in and then you don't even fix their car, no, very bad. So don't mistake that. We've got to do the basics right. But then if you add all this stuff, wonderful experience. So if we now compare building a business purely on the business basics, the time and effort thing, with building a business with personal care, time and effort is really a lot less and the positive experience is really a lot greater. How long does it take to go through dental school? How long does it take to go through hygienist school? It's an awful long time. How long do you spend practicing doing the stuff before you get good at it? Awful lot of time and effort. Personal care? No, it's not that hard. However, it's not that easy either because it requires a different way of thinking. Let's look at this personal care pyramid. See what it's made of. It's actually got three parts. There's our old friend, the positive experience on the top. In the middle are what I call care systems. The systems that make this positive experience reproducible without an awful lot of labour. So if you have to continually think about how to give people a great experience, that's hard work. If you can set up systems that ensure you can do that and your team can do that, give this positive experience without a lot of effort, just because you're following a checklist or a system, it's much easier. And that's what care systems are about. The foundation, cultural drivers. And this is, I think, the most interesting area. Let's look at it. I like this quotation. I bet 50% will get it, 50% won't. You get it? Yeah, you really do. If you want to build an apple pie, you've got to build a universe. If you're building it from scratch. Interesting concept. Luckily, we have the universe already built, so we don't have to go to that trouble every time we make an apple pie. Otherwise, it would take an inordinate amount of time. If we do not have the culture in place in our business that makes people want to make the systems that care for people in a personal way, that gives them the positive experience, it's not going to happen. People tend to do the things that they want to do, and the wanting comes from inside. If people don't want to do something, they figure out ways of not doing it. So there's no point in putting in all the care systems if people don't do them. And so often we find that's the case. We work out ways of doing things, and then we get sabotaged. It's so hard. Another interesting thing about building culture in a business is that it has to come from the top. No point in trying to tell the people with lesser power, you have to be kind to your customers. You bloody well have to be good to your customers. I won't stand this bloody swearing at customers anymore. It happens. Things have to come from the top. The changes have to come from the top. So, culture needs to be driven from inside us. If we're leaders in our business, or almost leaders, then the culture has to change within us so that we can then change the culture in our business.